Some legends are born, others are created. In the case of Captain Rex, it was quite literally the latter. On the stormy ocean planet of Kamino, amidst the endless rain and gleaming white facilities, a perfect genetic copy was made from a single man named Jango Fett. This specific copy, designation CT-7567, would eventually be known throughout the galaxy simply as Rex. Picture the clinical sterility of Kamino's cloning facilities, where thousands of identical men were grown in transparent tubes. But even among perfect copies, differences emerged. The Kaminoan scientists noticed something special in CT-7567 from early on. While most clones were designed for specific roles within the Grand Army of the Republic, this one showed exceptional leadership qualities that set him apart from his brothers. The cloning process itself was a marvel of genetic engineering. Through advanced techniques, the Kaminoans enhanced desirable traits in their creations. Perhaps most notably, they accelerated aging, allowing Rex to reach physical maturity in half the time of a natural-born human. This meant that while Rex might appear to be a man in his 20s or 30s during the Clone Wars, in reality, he was chronologically much younger. This rapid aging would become a significant factor throughout his life, particularly in his later years. As his training progressed, Rex quickly caught the attention of his instructors. Where other clones followed the standard curriculum, Rex showed an intuitive understanding of battlefield tactics and a natural ability to inspire those around him. These qualities earned him selection for advanced command training, setting him on a path different from many of his brothers. The true mark of distinction came when Rex received specialized ARC training, reserved only for the most elite clone troopers. Advanced recon commandos were the best of the best, granted greater autonomy, and equipped with advanced combat techniques that standard troops simply didn't have access to. This training would prove crucial to Rex's survival in the years ahead, allowing him to adapt to combat situations that others couldn't handle. In a rare honor bestowed upon only the most distinguished clones, Rex's instructors awarded him the Mandalorian Jag-Eye symbol for his helmet. Deep in Mandalorian culture, these stylized eyes of a shriek hawk represented bravery and strength in battle. For a clone to receive such recognition was almost unheard of, indicating just how much Rex had impressed even the harsh Mandalorian training sergeants who helped shape the clone army. When the Clone Wars erupted on Geonosis, Rex was there from the very beginning. The first major conflict between the Republic and the Separatists thrust him directly into the chaos of galactic war. The sands of Geonosis, stained with the blood of Jedi and clones alike, provided a brutal introduction to the reality of combat. It was here that Rex earned his veteran status, proving himself capable of leading men through the most challenging battlefield conditions. Following this baptism by fire, Rex received his official designation as captain of the 501st Clone Battalion's Torrent Company. Despite being only a captain in rank, his responsibilities often extended far beyond what would normally be expected, essentially placing him in command of the entire 501st Legion. This unusual arrangement came about because of who his commanding officer was: the young and already legendary Jedi General Anakin Skywalker. The pairing of Rex and Skywalker would prove to be one of the most effective partnerships in the entire Grand Army. Skywalker's unorthodox approach to warfare and willingness to bend rules complemented Rex's adaptability and quick thinking. What began as a professional military relationship soon developed into genuine friendship and mutual respect. In a galaxy where clones were often viewed as disposable, Skywalker saw Rex as an individual and valued his insights. This treatment had a profound impact on the captain's development. Early in the war, Rex approached his duties with rigid adherence to protocol, eager to follow orders exactly as given. But as battles stretched on and the conflict evolved, so too did his approach to leadership. He became less tightly wound, developing a style that balanced military discipline with practical battlefield realities. This evolution didn't diminish his loyalty to the Republic or his brothers. Rather, it enhanced his effectiveness as a leader who could make crucial decisions when circumstances demanded it. Rex's early military career was marked by several notable conflicts that shaped both his tactical abilities and his most important relationships. During the Battle of Arantara, he sustained serious injuries and might have died if not for the direct intervention of General Skywalker. The rescue deepened the trust between them, creating a bond that transcended the typical relationship between a Jedi and a clone officer. Another key relationship formed during operations on Tibrin, where Rex worked closely with Commander Cody of the 212th Attack Battalion. Despite their different temperaments, with Cody being somewhat more by the book than Rex, they formed an effective partnership that would serve the Republic through countless campaigns. The friendship between these two clone commanders mirrored the brotherhood of their respective Jedi generals, Skywalker and Kenobi. As Rex's reputation grew throughout the early phases of the Clone Wars, he began to be seen not just as an effective officer, but as a hero of the clone army itself. Other clones looked to him as an example of what they could aspire to be, someone who maintained his sense of duty while still finding ways to express his individuality within the strict confines of military service. The story of Captain Rex begins as a tale of exceptional creation and training, but it quickly becomes something more. A journey of a man finding his own identity in a galaxy that often refused to see him as an individual at all. In the battles to come, this identity would be tested, challenged, and ultimately forged into something that even his creators could never have anticipated. As the Clone Wars intensified across the galaxy, Captain Rex quickly found himself not just fighting battles, but also mentoring those around him. His first test as both warrior and teacher came on the crystal world of Christophsis, where the 501st Legion fought to liberate the planet from separatist control. What began as a standard military operation soon became much more significant in Rex's story. The battle was already underway when something unexpected happened. A young Togruta arrived on the battlefield, introducing herself as Ahsoka Tano, Anakin Skywalker's new Padawan learner. Rex was taken aback. No one had informed him that General Skywalker would be receiving an apprentice, least of all Skywalker himself, who seemed just as surprised by this development. Amidst the chaos of battle, Rex found himself balancing his military duties with guiding this enthusiastic but inexperienced newcomer. When Ahsoka asserted her higher rank as a Jedi commander, Rex gently reminded her that in warfare, experience outranks everything. This moment established what would become one of the most important relationships in Rex's life, as he became not just a soldier under her command, but a mentor and eventually a friend. The situation on Christophsis grew more complicated when Republic forces began falling into separatist traps. Someone was leaking their battle plans. Rex worked diligently to uncover the traitor, eventually discovering that one of his own brothers, Sergeant Slick, had betrayed them. This revelation shook Rex to his core. The idea that a clone could turn against his brothers challenged his understanding of their purpose and loyalty. It forced him to confront the uncomfortable truth that even those created for identical purposes could make vastly different choices. Shortly after securing Christophsis, Rex and his men joined Skywalker and Tano on a mission to the jungle world of Teth. Their objective was unusual for a military unit: rescue the kidnapped son of Jabba the Hutt. The strategic importance was clear, as securing Jabba's alliance would give the Republic access to crucial hyperspace lanes for their military campaigns. The mission quickly became a disaster. After scaling a vertical cliff face under heavy fire to reach a monastery where the Huttlet was being held, Rex and his troops found themselves surrounded by separatist forces led by the deadly Asajj Ventress. In the ensuing chaos, Rex experienced something few have survived: direct mental assault by a dark side force user. Ventress attempted to use a mind trick to extract information about Skywalker's whereabouts. In a display of remarkable willpower, Rex resisted her mental intrusion. Even more notable was what happened next. When he managed to warn Skywalker of the danger, Rex broke military protocol by addressing his general by his first name, Anakin. This small but significant breach of formality highlighted the evolving relationship between the clone captain and the Jedi, transcending the typical boundaries of military hierarchy. One of Rex's most notable early war experiences came during what seemed like a routine inspection. Alongside Commander Cody, Rex visited a tracking station on the Rishi Moon, a small outpost manned by rookie clone troopers. Their routine check quickly turned deadly when they discovered commando droids had infiltrated the station and killed most of the clone rookies stationed there. Rex's quick thinking saved Cody's life when he instantly recognized that the trooper greeting them at the landing pad was actually a commando droid in disguise. He immediately shot the droid in the head, then casually reassured his startled companion that it was just a droid. The moment displayed not only Rex's combat instincts, but also his growing ability to stay calm under pressure. Working with a few surviving rookies, including troopers Echo and Fives, Rex and Cody managed to retake the outpost and alert the Republic fleet about an impending separatist invasion. When the mission was complete, Rex made a crucial leadership decision. Impressed by the courage and initiative shown by Echo and Fives, he welcomed them into the 501st, recognizing talent and potential where others might have seen only inexperienced rookies. This ability to identify and nurture potential would become a hallmark of Rex's leadership style. The battles continued to come, each one testing Rex in different ways. At both Awui, Rex's loyalty to his general was on full display when Skywalker's fighter was damaged during combat with General Grievous. Without hesitation, Rex risked his own life to save his Jedi commander, further cementing their mutual trust and respect. This bond would be tested again during the assault on Skytop Station, where Rex demonstrated impressive combat skills against super battle droids while working to destroy one of Grievous's key listening posts. Perhaps the most telling insights into Rex's character came during missions that required more than just military prowess. When their cruiser was attacked over Quell, Skywalker was seriously injured while saving Ahsoka and Rex from an explosion. During their emergency landing on the nearby planet Maridun, Rex showed his dedication by staying behind to care for his wounded general, while Ahsoka and Commander Bly searched for help among the local Lurman population. The pacifist Lerman initially refused to help the Republic forces, fearing involvement in the war. Yet when Separatist General Lock Durd arrived to test a new weapon capable of destroying all organic life while leaving droids intact, Rex helped defend these civilians despite their earlier rejection. This willingness to protect innocent lives, regardless of their allegiance or beliefs, revealed the moral compass that guided Rex beyond simple military objectives. Throughout these early battles of the Clone Wars, a pattern emerged in Rex's approach to leadership. Unlike some clone officers who viewed their troops as expendable assets, Rex genuinely cared for the men under his command. He balanced following orders with protecting his troops, earning their loyalty through respect rather than rank alone. His men knew he wouldn't sacrifice them needlessly, and this knowledge inspired them to fight harder and smarter under his leadership. These formative experiences solidified Rex's most important relationships. His friendship with Cody provided a crucial support system, giving both commanders someone who understood the unique pressures they faced as clone leaders. His respect for Anakin Skywalker grew beyond simple military deference into genuine friendship and mutual trust. And perhaps most significantly, his connection with Ahsoka Tano evolved from reluctant mentorship into a bond that would ultimately transcend the Clone Wars themselves and stretch far into the future of the galaxy. As the Clone Wars raged on, Captain Rex faced challenges that went beyond battlefield tactics and combat skills. The true tests came in moments that forced him to question everything he had been created to believe. These pivotal experiences would transform him from a soldier who followed orders into a man who made difficult moral choices based on his own developing sense of right and wrong. One such turning point occurred during a mission on the farming world of Saleucami. While tracking the notorious General Grievous, Rex was shot by a commando droid. The injury wasn't fatal, but it left him separated from his unit and vulnerable. Fate had a curious lesson in store for him when local farmers discovered and helped the wounded captain. But these weren't ordinary farmers. The homestead was run by Cutlaw Quain, a clone deserter who had built a life far from the war, complete with a wife and 2 adopted children. For Rex, this encounter was jarring. His entire existence had been defined by military service to the Republic. The idea that a clone could simply walk away from that purpose and create a different life seemed like a betrayal of everything they were made for. His initial reaction was disgust, viewing Lo Quan as a deserter who had abandoned his brothers and his duty. But as Rex recovered under Lo Quan's roof, watching the former soldier protect his family and tend to his farm, something shifted in his perspective. Here was living proof that clones could be more than weapons of war, that they could create meaning beyond the battlefield. When the time came for Rex to return to his unit, he made a decision that would have been unthinkable earlier in his career. He chose not to report Lo Quan to the Republic, allowing his brother to continue his peaceful existence. This moment marked a significant evolution in Rex's thinking about duty, showing his growing ability to see beyond rigid military doctrine. If the encounter with Lo Quan planted seeds of doubt about the clone's purpose, the Battle of Umbara would force those doubts into full bloom. What began as another campaign to claim a strategic planet for the Republic turned into one of the darkest chapters of Rex's military career. When General Anakin Skywalker was unexpectedly called back to Coruscant, The 501st Legion was placed under the command of Jedi Master Pong Krell. From the start, something felt wrong. Krell's tactics were needlessly aggressive, sending clone troopers into dangerous situations with minimal planning and maximum casualties. He treated the clones as expendable, referring to them by number rather than name, and showing complete disregard for their lives. Rex found himself in an impossible position. As captain, he was duty-bound to follow the orders of his commanding officer. Yet, as a leader who cared for his men, he could see that Krell's commands were leading to unnecessary deaths. The moral dilemma tore at him. Follow orders and watch his brothers die, or question authority and risk being labeled a traitor himself. The situation deteriorated further when Krell ordered 2 clone battalions to attack different positions, but gave them each the same information about enemy disguises. The result was devastating. Clone troopers fired on their own brothers, each group believing the other was the enemy. By the time they realized the truth, many good men had already fallen. This deliberate deception pushed Rex past his breaking point. Together with his fellow officers, he made the difficult decision to relieve Krell of command. The Jedi Master was revealed to be a traitor working for the Separatists, confirming Rex's suspicions. But the damage had been done. The clones had been forced to fight and kill their own brothers due to the machinations of a leader they were programmed to trust completely. In the aftermath of Umbara, Rex voiced a question that had likely been brewing in his mind for some time. What would happen to the clones when the war ended? Would they be allowed to retire, to live as civilians like Cutlaw Quain? Or would they be discarded having served their purpose? These questions had no answers, but they revealed Rex's growing awareness of his unusual place in the galaxy. Not quite a droid programmed for a single purpose, yet not born with the freedom to choose his own path. This introspection didn't prevent Rex from continuing to serve effectively. If anything, it made him a more thoughtful and adaptable soldier. When assigned to train rebels on Onderon fighting against Separatist occupation, Rex demonstrated his ability to apply his military knowledge in completely different contexts. These weren't clone troopers with identical training and equipment, but local civilians with limited resources and experience. Rex taught the Onderon rebels practical tactics for combating battle droids and neutralizing Separatist tanks. He shared insights gained from years of fighting that very enemy, adapting his instructions to suit guerrilla warfare rather than conventional military operations. This mission broadened his perspective on the war, showing him that the conflict affected ordinary people fighting for their homes, not just grand armies clashing over galactic politics. Throughout these challenges, one thing remained constant: Rex's dedication to defending his brothers. He consistently stood up for his fellow clones, insisting they be treated as men rather than disposable units. When confronting General Krell about his reckless tactics, Rex made it clear that the casualties weren't just numbers. They were men with distinct identities and value beyond their military utility. This stance represented significant growth from his early days of rigid adherence to protocol. Rex had learned to navigate the middle ground between military discipline and personal judgment. He found ways to fulfill his duty while still honoring his own moral compass, a balance that many others in his position failed to achieve. These trials forced Rex to confront not just his mortality, but his purpose. The accelerated aging built into his genetic code meant that his lifespan would be half that of a natural human. This sobering reality, combined with the constant dangers of warfare, led him to question what his life meant beyond being a soldier. Was he merely a temporary tool created for a specific conflict, or could he claim the full humanity that others took for granted? The darkness of Umbara, the quiet revelation of Seleucami, the guerrilla tactics of Onderon, all these experiences shaped Rex into something more complex than his creators had ever intended. He was becoming a man who could question orders when necessary, who could see value in paths different from his own, who understood that being a good soldier sometimes meant protecting your men from your own commanding officers. These lessons wouldn't just help him survive the remainder of the Clone Wars. They were laying essential groundwork for challenges that would test him even more severely when the very republic he fought for would transform into something unrecognizable, and when the distinction between following orders and doing what's right would become a matter of life and death for everyone he cared about. In the chaos of galactic war, it was relationships that truly defined Captain Rex. Though created in a laboratory and designed for combat, the connections he formed throughout his life revealed something the Kaminoan scientists never intended: a capacity for deep loyalty, friendship, and love that transcended his genetic programming. Central to Rex's story was his relationship with Jedi General Anakin Skywalker. Their bond began as a standard military partnership, but quickly evolved into something much more meaningful. Skywalker's unorthodox approach to leadership resonated with Rex from the beginning. Unlike other Jedi generals who directed from behind the lines, Anakin led from the front, never asking his men to take risks he wouldn't face himself. This shared philosophy of leadership created a foundation of mutual respect that deepened with each battle they survived together. Rex admired Skywalker's tactical improvisation and battlefield courage, while Anakin valued Rex's unwavering loyalty and practical military expertise. Their trust in each other became so complete that Anakin confided in Rex about personal matters he kept hidden from most others, including aspects of his secret marriage to Senator Padme Amidala. For a Jedi who often felt isolated due to his emotional struggles and unorthodox methods, Rex became more than just a military subordinate. He was a confidant, a sounding board, and one of the few people in the galaxy who simply accepted Anakin for who he was, without judgment or expectation. This unconditional acceptance made Rex one of Skywalker's closest allies during the war, a friend who stood by him when many others couldn't understand his methods. If his relationship with Anakin was built on mutual respect, Rex's connection with Ahsoka Tano was perhaps even more transformative for both of them. Their first meeting on Christophsis set the tone for what would become one of Rex's most enduring bonds. As an eager young Padawan, Ahsoka initially relied on Rex for military guidance and practical combat advice. The seasoned captain took on the role of mentor, helping to temper her enthusiasm with battle-tested wisdom. What began as a teacher-student dynamic gradually evolved into something much deeper. Rex watched Ahsoka grow from an inexperienced commander into a capable leader in her own right. He offered her insights not just about combat tactics, but about leadership itself, sharing lessons he had learned through hard experience. Their relationship became more balanced over time, with each respecting the other's unique strengths and perspectives. The true depth of their connection would be revealed during the Siege of Mandalore and the tragedy of Order 66, when Ahsoka saved Rex by removing his inhibitor chip. This moment of mutual salvation cemented their bond as something that transcended military hierarchy or even the republic they had both served. Their friendship would endure long after the Clone Wars ended, with their reunion years later during the early rebellion against the Empire standing as testament to the lasting nature of their connection. Among his fellow clone officers, none was closer to Rex than Commander Cody of the 212th Attack Battalion. Together, they formed an effective leadership team that contributed to numerous Republic victories, from the defense of the Rishi Moon outpost to major campaigns across the Outer Rim. Rex and Cody shared the unique burden of clone leadership, understanding the pressures of balancing military objectives with the welfare of their troops in ways that non-clones never could. They developed a shorthand communication and implicit trust that made them formidable partners in the field. Their camaraderie provided both with necessary moments of levity amid the darkness of war, whether trading good-natured jabs about their generals or competing over battle droid kill counts. The tragedy of their friendship came with Order 66. While Rex was saved from the control of his inhibitor chip, Cody remained under its influence, following the order to turn against General Kenobi. This divergence in their paths created a poignant contrast between the two friends. One remained a tool of the Empire, while the other found a way to reclaim his autonomy and fight for freedom. Beyond these high-profile relationships, Rex formed deep bonds with the men who served directly under his command. He was particularly close to ARC Troopers 5s and Echo, whose journey from rookie clones on the Rishi Moon to elite soldiers mirrored Rex's own growth as a leader. He took personal pride in their development, having recognized their potential from the beginning. The loss of Hardcase during the Battle of Umbara hit Rex particularly hard, as did the tragic death of Tup due to a malfunctioning inhibitor chip. Each loss was personal to Rex, not just a reduction in military strength, but the death of someone he considered family. His connection with Fives became especially significant when the ARC Trooper uncovered the conspiracy behind the inhibitor chips. Though Fives was killed before he could fully reveal what he had discovered, his warnings planted seeds of doubt in Rex that would later help him resist Order 66. Rex's ability to form meaningful bonds extended to clones outside his immediate unit as well. His relationship with Cut Loquain, the deserter he encountered on Salukami, demonstrated his growing appreciation for individuality among clones. Though initially conflicted about Loquain's choice to leave the army and start a family, Rex came to respect it as a valid path, keeping the deserter's secret instead of reporting him as regulations demanded. Later in his life, Rex would form crucial bonds with clone commandos Gregor and Wolf. After the fall of the Republic, these three veterans would band together, finding strength in their shared experiences as they navigated life under Imperial rule. Their collective struggle to find purpose in a post-war galaxy cemented a brotherhood based not on their identical DNA, but on their shared history and values. The respect Rex earned extended far beyond his fellow clones. His leadership qualities, courage, and compassion impressed even those who initially viewed clones with suspicion. Years after the Clone Wars, when Rex joined the early rebellion against the Empire, former Jedi Kanan Jarrus initially distrusted him because of his clone origins. Kanan had witnessed firsthand the betrayal of Order 66 when clone troopers killed his master. Yet over time, Rex's actions and integrity won over even this skeptical ally, demonstrating his ability to bridge divides created by the war. What made Rex truly exceptional was his understanding that brotherhood transcended genetic similarity. While created as part of a genetically identical army, he recognized that true connection came from shared experience, mutual sacrifice, and choice, not from DNA. This philosophy shaped his leadership style throughout the war, influencing how he treated both his clone subordinates and his non-clone allies. When faced with the horror of Order 66, this belief in chosen brotherhood rather than programmed loyalty gave Rex the strength to fight against his own biological programming. The relationships he had formed, particularly with Ahsoka Tano, proved stronger than the control chip implanted in his brain. By choosing to protect those he cared about, rather than blindly following orders, Rex demonstrated the ultimate truth of his philosophy, that meaningful bonds are forged through choice and loyalty, not predetermined by birth or creation. Throughout the turbulent years of the Clone Wars and beyond, it was these relationships that defined Rex far more than his status as a clone. They transformed him from a product designed for warfare into a person capable of deep connection, sacrifice, and love. In a galaxy where he was created to be expendable, Rex found immeasurable value in the bonds he formed with others, proving that family can be found not just in blood, but in the connections we choose to nurture and protect. Sometimes the truth reveals itself in the most devastating ways. For Captain Rex, that moment came during what should have been a routine battle above the planet Ringo Vinda. The Republic forces were on the verge of victory when something unthinkable happened. Trooper Tup, one of Rex's closest friends and most reliable soldiers, suddenly raised his blaster and shot Jedi General Tippler in the head at point-blank range. The shock rippled through everyone who witnessed it. Clone troopers were genetically engineered to be loyal to the Republic and its Jedi commanders. This act of apparent betrayal made no sense. Tup himself seemed confused and disoriented, repeating the phrase, "Good soldiers follow orders," in a trance-like state. For Rex, this wasn't just a military anomaly, it was personal. Tup was his brother, his friend, someone he had fought alongside through countless battles. Something was clearly wrong with him, but what? Medical scans were inconclusive, and the Kaminoan doctors insisted on bringing Tup back to their cloning facilities for examination. When ARC Trooper 5s requested permission to accompany his friend to Kamino, Rex immediately supported him. It was a small gesture of loyalty, but one that would set in motion a chain of events that would alter the course of Rex's life. At the time, he couldn't have known that this simple act of compassion would eventually help save him from the fate that awaited almost all of his brothers. On Kamino, 5s discovered something disturbing. The Kaminoan scientists claimed that Tup was suffering from a rare parasite, but their behavior seemed suspicious. Following his instincts, 5s conducted his own investigation with the help of medical droid AZ-3. What they found hidden inside Tup's brain was chilling. A biological chip implanted during embryonic development. The Kaminoans claimed these chips were meant to curb aggression, but 5s wasn't convinced. When he had his own chip removed for analysis, he discovered a far more sinister purpose. These weren't behavioral inhibitors. They were control devices, capable of compelling clones to follow certain orders without question when activated. Desperate to warn the Republic about this conspiracy, 5s tried to reach out to Chancellor Palpatine himself, but something went terribly wrong. Branded as mentally unstable and dangerous, Fives found himself hunted by his own brothers. He managed to contact Rex and Anakin Skywalker, begging them to meet him so he could explain what he had uncovered. That clandestine meeting in the lower levels of Coruscant would become one of the most painful moments of Rex's life. Fives, paranoid and struggling to articulate the complex conspiracy he had discovered, appeared threatening to Chancellor Palpatine when the politician unexpectedly arrived. Commander Fox, leading a squad of Coruscant Guard troopers, shot Fives before he could fully explain his findings. Rex watched helplessly as his friend died in his arms. Fives used his final breaths to warn about the chips, about a plot against the Jedi, about something bigger than any of them had realized. But his explanations were fragmented, his thoughts scattered by stress and the trauma of the chip's removal. He died leaving more questions than answers, with only cryptic warnings about a grand conspiracy reaching to the highest levels of the Republic. The official explanation was that Fives had been affected by the same parasite that had infected Tup, causing paranoid delusions. But Rex knew Fives better than that. Though he couldn't fully understand what his friend had discovered, he sensed there was truth mixed in with the apparent madness. Despite his own doubts, Rex did something extraordinary. He filed a formal grievance report about the inhibitor chips, documenting Fives's claims and the circumstances of his death. It was a small act of rebellion from a soldier programmed for obedience. The report was promptly classified and encrypted deep in Republic archives, effectively buried where few would ever find it. But the mere fact that Rex had filed it showed his growing willingness to question the system he served. In the aftermath of these events, Rex became more cautious, more observant. He maintained his outward loyalty to the Republic and his duties as a captain, but inwardly he watched for signs of the conspiracy Fives had tried to expose. He began to notice inconsistencies in the official narratives about the war, subtle patterns that suggested manipulation from unseen forces. The seeds of doubt had been planted, growing quietly beneath his disciplined exterior. These doubts didn't prevent Rex from continuing to serve effectively. If anything, they made him more determined to protect his brothers and complete his mission successfully. But there was a new dimension to his thinking, a layer of skepticism that hadn't been there before. The perfect soldier had begun to question the very cause he fought for. This awakening consciousness led Rex to pursue another mystery that haunted him. During a mission at the Citadel prison, his friend Echo had been presumed killed in an explosion. But Rex began to suspect that Echo might still be alive, captured rather than killed, when Separatist forces seemed to be anticipating Republic battle strategies that Echo had known. Acting on this hunch, Rex convinced General Skywalker to let him investigate, teaming up with a unique squad known as Clone Force 99, nicknamed the Bad Batch. These genetically deviant clones possessed enhanced abilities that made them perfect for high-risk missions. Together, they followed the trail to Skako Minor, a neutral world controlled by the Techno Union. What Rex discovered there horrified him. Echo was indeed alive, but had been horrifically experimented on by Separatist scientists. He had been turned into a living computer, his mind connected directly to Separatist systems, forced to unwittingly betray Republic strategies. The rescue mission succeeded, freeing Echo from his torturous captivity. But the psychological damage had been done. Echo would never be the same again. This mission reinforced Rex's growing awareness of how expendable clones were considered by the powers controlling the war. Echo had been left behind, his potential death accepted as a casualty of war. Yet the Separatists had seen value in him even as a prisoner, exploiting his tactical knowledge and connection to Republic systems. The contrast was striking, raising more questions about who truly valued the clones as individuals. As the Clone Wars intensified across the galaxy, these experiences changed Rex in subtle but significant ways. He became more protective of his men, more determined to ensure no more brothers were abandoned or exploited. He kept Five's warnings in the back of his mind, watching for signs of the danger his friend had tried to expose. Though Rex couldn't fully understand the conspiracy Fives had uncovered, the lingering doubts would prove crucial when Order 66 was eventually transmitted across the galaxy. That small seed of awareness, planted by a dying friend, would give Rex the momentary hesitation needed for Ahsoka Tano to intervene and remove his chip before it completely took control of his mind. In this way, Five's sacrifice was not entirely in vain. His desperate attempt to reveal the truth, cut short by betrayal and death, would eventually save at least one of his brothers from becoming an unwitting tool in the destruction of the Jedi Order. The questions he raised in Rex's mind created a tiny crack in the perfect obedience the inhibitor chips were designed to enforce, a crack that would eventually widen into resistance. The tragic events surrounding Tup and Fives marked a turning point in Rex's development. He had begun his life as a product, created for a specific purpose. But these experiences accelerated his evolution into something more. A man capable of questioning authority, of seeing beyond his programming, of valuing loyalty to his brothers over blind obedience to his masters. The conspiracy that claimed Five's life had inadvertently helped Rex take another step toward true autonomy, preparing him for the even greater challenges that lay ahead. As the Clone Wars reached their climactic final days, Captain Rex received a promotion that recognized his years of exemplary service. Now Commander Rex, he was tasked with leading the 332nd Company alongside Ahsoka Tano in what would become one of the most significant operations of the war, the Siege of Mandalore. This wasn't just another military assignment. It represented a unique moment of recognition for both Rex and Ahsoka. Though she had left the Jedi Order, Ahsoka had returned to help capture the former Sith Lord Maul, who had seized control of Mandalore. The Republic granted her a special command position, and Rex was chosen to lead the troops that would support her mission. The soldiers under Rex's command made a remarkable gesture that spoke volumes about their respect for Ahsoka. They painted their helmets with orange and white markings that mirrored her facial patterns, creating a visual tribute to their commander. This customization of their armor, transforming the standard white helmets into a sea of orange and white designs, symbolized the deep connection between these clones and the former Jedi they followed into battle. The Siege of Mandalore proved successful. After intense fighting against Maul's forces, Ahsoka managed to capture the former Sith Lord himself. As Rex and his troops prepared to transport their dangerous prisoner back to Coruscant, the galaxy stood on the precipice of transformation. None of them could have known that everything they had fought for was about to crumble around them. While their Venator-class Star Destroyer traveled through hyperspace, Chancellor Palpatine, now revealed as Darth Sidious, executed the final stage of his grand plan. Across the galaxy, he issued Order 66, a pre-programmed command transmitted directly to the inhibitor chips implanted in the brains of all clone troopers. The order was simple and devastating. Identify all Jedi as traitors to the Republic and execute them immediately. Though Ahsoka was no longer officially a Jedi, having left the Order, she was specifically included in the execution list. The moment Rex received the transmission, something extraordinary happened. As the chip activated in his brain, compelling him to kill his friend and commander, Rex fought against his own programming. Tears streamed down his face as he struggled against the biological imperative now controlling his actions. In a moment of incredible willpower, Rex managed to briefly resist the chip's control long enough to give Ahsoka a vital clue. He told her to find Fives, referencing the trooper who had discovered the conspiracy of the inhibitor chips before being silenced. It was just enough information to give Ahsoka a fighting chance, a momentary crack in the perfect obedience the chip was designed to enforce. That small act of resistance couldn't prevent the inevitable. Within seconds, Rex succumbed to the chip's control and turned his blasters on Ahsoka. Throughout the ship, other clone troopers joined him, transforming from loyal soldiers into unwitting assassins hunting down their former commander. Using her Force abilities and combat skills, Ahsoka managed to escape the initial attack. More importantly, she understood what Rex had been trying to tell her. She accessed the ship's database, finding the classified report Rex had filed about Fives' discovery of the inhibitor chips. With this knowledge, she formulated a desperate plan to save her friend from the control that had been forced upon him. After a tense pursuit through the corridors of the Star Destroyer, Ahsoka managed to capture Rex without seriously harming him. With the help of astromech droids, she performed a dangerous emergency surgery, physically removing the inhibitor chip from Rex's brain. The procedure was successful, freeing him from the compulsion of Order 66 and restoring his free will. The emotional weight of what had happened hit Rex the moment he regained consciousness. The horror of being forced to turn against Ahsoka, the realization that his brothers across the galaxy were being used as unwitting executioners, the understanding that the Republic they had fought so hard to protect was transforming into something unrecognizable. All of it crashed down on him at once. Rex explained to Ahsoka what he knew about the chips, how they had been implanted in every clone during early development on Kamino. The full scope of the betrayal became clear to both of them. The clone army had never truly belonged to the Republic. They had been created as instruments of the Sith, designed from the beginning to turn against the Jedi when the moment was right. Their situation grew even more desperate when Maul, still a prisoner on the ship, used his Force abilities to sabotage the Star Destroyer's systems. The massive vessel began to lose altitude, plummeting toward a nearby moon. Rex and Ahsoka now faced a double challenge, escaping the doomed ship while evading the clones still hunting them under the influence of Order 66. As they fought their way through the ship toward the hangar bay, Rex faced the heartbreaking task of defending himself against his own brothers. The same men he had led into battle, trained with and protected, were now trying to kill him and Ahsoka. In a testament to his character, Rex set his blasters to stun whenever possible, incapacitating rather than killing the clones who attacked them. He understood that his brothers weren't acting of their own free will, but were victims of the same control mechanism that had nearly claimed him. The conflict tore at Rex's core. These were his brothers, men he had lived alongside since creation. Each time he was forced to stun one of his fellow clones, the pain was visible on his face. Yet he knew that protecting Ahsoka, the very person who had freed him from the chip's control, was a moral imperative that transcended even his brotherhood with the other clones. Against incredible odds, Rex and Ahsoka reached the hangar bay and managed to escape the crashing Star Destroyer in a Y-wing fighter just before impact. As they flew away from the wreckage, they knew that their lives as they had known them were over. The Republic was falling, the Jedi were being hunted to extinction, and anyone associated with them would be targeted as well. Making a crucial decision that would shape their futures, Rex and Ahsoka returned to the crash site when it was safe to do so. There, they created a false grave, burying Ahsoka's lightsabers and clone trooper helmets to make it appear they had died in the crash. This deception was their best chance at survival in a galaxy now controlled by the newly declared Galactic Empire. The plan worked. Imperial records would eventually list Commander Rex as killed in action during the chaos of Order 66. This presumed death gave him the precious advantage of anonymity, allowing him to disappear as the Empire consolidated its power across the galaxy. For Rex, Order 66 represented the most horrific perversion of everything he had believed in as a soldier. The loyalty that had been engineered into his very DNA was weaponized and used to betray the ideals he had fought to uphold. Yet, in that darkest moment, Rex demonstrated the true strength of his character. Despite biological programming designed to be inescapable, he found the willpower to resist, if only for a moment. That brief struggle against impossibility saved not only his life, but his autonomy, allowing him to reclaim his identity from those who had tried to reduce him to a mere tool. The experience transformed Rex on a fundamental level. He had begun his life as a creation designed for obedience. In resisting Order 66, he completed his evolution into something his makers never intended. A man capable of determining his own path, of choosing loyalty based on personal conviction rather than programmed response. Though the Republic had fallen and the war was lost, Rex had won a more personal battle. He had claimed ownership of himself. When the smoke cleared after Order 66, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The Republic that Rex had fought for had been transformed into the Galactic Empire overnight. The Jedi were branded as traitors and hunted to near extinction. And the clone troopers, once celebrated as heroes, were gradually being phased out in favor of recruited stormtroopers. For Rex, this new reality demanded a complete reinvention of his life. Being officially listed as killed in action gave him a precious advantage. While the Empire meticulously tracked down surviving Jedi, they weren't looking for a clone commander they believed to be dead. This anonymity became his shield as he navigated the dangerous early days of Imperial rule. His first act as a free man spoke volumes about his character. Despite the risks involved, Rex traveled to Saleucami to warn Cutlaw Quan about the inhibitor chips. The clone deserter, who had once challenged Rex's notions of duty, now needed protection. Rex explained what had happened, warned Cut to be vigilant about potential activation of his own chip, and helped him prepare contingency plans to protect his family. This journey back to Lo Quain's farm came full circle from their first meeting, showing how completely Rex's perspective had evolved. The man who once might have reported a deserter now risked his own safety to protect one. As the Empire consolidated its power, Rex made a crucial decision. He wouldn't simply hide and wait out the storm. He would actively resist focusing particularly on helping his clone brothers escape Imperial control. He established a covert network of allies dedicated to rescuing clones who wished to remove their chips and desert from Imperial service. This resistance effort connected Rex with unlikely allies. The Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa, who had previously helped Ahsoka Tano, became key collaborators in his underground operations. Their knowledge of Coruscant's criminal underworld and smuggling routes proved invaluable for moving fugitive clones off Imperial worlds. Through these missions, Rex's network saved dozens of his brothers from continued servitude or the decommissioning that awaited clones deemed no longer useful by the Empire. Each rescue was personally meaningful to Rex. These weren't just soldiers to him. They were family, men created from the same template, who shared his face and much of his experience. Each clone who managed to escape the Empire's control represented a small victory against the system that had used them all as disposable weapons. During these early Resistance years, Rex received intelligence about Clone Force 99, the experimental unit known as the Bad Batch. These genetically divergent clones had responded differently to Order 66 due to their modified DNA. Tracking them to Ord Mantell, Rex reunited with his old squad mate Echo, who had joined the unusual clone unit after his rescue from Skako Minor. The reunion was tense but vital. Rex warned the Bad Batch about their inhibitor chips and helped them understand the danger they posed. Though most of the squad had naturally resisted the chip's programming due to their genetic modifications, Rex insisted on surgically removing them all to eliminate any risk of future activation. After helping them with this procedure, he offered the skilled team a place in his resistance operations. While they initially declined, preferring to forge their own independent path, this encounter strengthened Rex's connection with Echo and laid groundwork for future collaboration. As the years passed and the Empire's grip tightened across the galaxy, Rex eventually sought a quieter existence. He settled on the remote desert planet Selos, accompanied by two fellow clone veterans who had also managed to remove their chips and escape Imperial service. Commander Wolf from the 104th Battalion and Commando Gregor, a former Republic commando. Their home was as unconventional as their situation, a modified ATTE walker, repurposed from a war machine into a mobile dwelling. The three veterans survived by hunting massive worm-like creatures called yupas, selling their meat to the few traders who ventured to such an isolated world. This life on the fringes of the galaxy gave them space to process their experiences and come to terms with their complicated past. The three clones dealt with their wartime trauma in different ways. Rex maintained his sense of purpose, still believing in the possibility of resisting the Empire. Gregor displayed erratic behavior, his mental state affected by his intense combat experiences and the experimental procedures he had endured as a commando. Wolf proved the most fearful, haunted by nightmares of Order 66 and terrified that the Empire would eventually find them. Their relative peace was interrupted years into the Imperial era when Ahsoka Tano, now operating under the codename Fulcrum as an intelligence agent for the growing rebel movement, attempted to contact Rex. The messages she sent contained coded references to their shared past, designed to be recognized only by him. But Wolf, paranoid about Imperial retribution, intercepted and hid these communications, afraid that responding would bring the Empire to their doorstep. When Ahsoka realized her messages weren't getting through, she sent the crew of a rebel ship called the Ghost to find Rex in person. Led by former Jedi Kanan Jarrus and his Padawan Ezra Bridger, the rebel team tracked the clone veterans to their walker on Selos. Their arrival triggered Wolf's fears, leading to a tense confrontation before Rex could establish the rebels' genuine intentions. The meeting between Rex and Kanan revealed the lasting wounds of Order 66. Kanan, who had witnessed his Jedi master gunned down by clone troopers, harbored deep distrust toward all clones. Rex, understanding this perspective, patiently worked to prove that he and his companions had removed their chips and had never willingly participated in the Jedi Purge. This initial friction would take time to heal, as both men carried scars from the same traumatic event, experienced from opposite sides. When an Imperial probe droid discovered their location, followed by a full assault force, Rex and the Ghost Crew were forced to work together against the common enemy. The battle showcased Rex's tactical genius as he coordinated their defense using the ATTE Walker's remaining weapon systems against more modern Imperial walkers. This successful collaboration against Imperial forces changed something in Rex. After years of hiding and small-scale resistance, the thrill of direct combat against the Empire reignited his warrior spirit. When the Ghost Crew prepared to leave, Rex made a life-changing decision. He would join the formal rebellion against the Empire, specifically the Phoenix Rebel cell operating in the Lothal sector. It was time to stop merely surviving and start actively fighting to restore freedom to the galaxy. His arrival at the Rebel base led to an emotional reunion with Ahsoka Tano. These two survivors of the Clone Wars, who had faced Order 66 together and forged their own paths in its aftermath, found in each other a connection to their shared past and a renewed purpose for the future. Their reunion symbolized the resilience of loyalty and friendship even in the darkest times. Within the rebellion, Rex found new meaning as a military advisor. His decades of combat experience and intimate knowledge of Imperial protocols inherited from Republic military structure made him an invaluable resource for Rebel commanders. Former enemies became comrades as Rex worked alongside Jedi survivors and freedom fighters from across the galaxy, united by their opposition to Imperial tyranny. His relationship with Kanan Jarrus gradually evolved from mutual suspicion into genuine respect. Through shared missions and battles, they moved beyond the trauma that initially divided them, forming a bond based on their current choices rather than their painful history. This healing process reflected Rex's larger journey of reconciliation with his past, neither denying his role in the Clone Wars nor allowing it to define his future. As Rex integrated into the Phoenix Squadron, his value to the rebellion became immediately apparent. This wasn't just another soldier joining the fight. This was a veteran with decades of combat experience and intimate knowledge of both Republic and Imperial military operations. His familiarity with old Republic bases provided the rebellion with potential outposts that Imperial forces had overlooked, while his understanding of standard tactics gave Rebel commanders insight into how their enemies thought. Rex participated in countless missions during this period, each one showcasing different facets of his military expertise. When the Rebels needed to infiltrate an Imperial interdictor cruiser, a specialized vessel capable of preventing ships from jumping to hyperspace, Rex's knowledge of similar Republic prototypes proved invaluable. The technology had evolved, but the basic principles remained the same, allowing him to guide the Rebel team through the ship's systems. One particularly significant mission took Rex to Geonosis, a world that held special meaning for him. This was where the Clone Wars had begun, where he had first seen combat as a newly deployed captain. Returning years later, he found the planet mysteriously devoid of its native population. Working with the Ghost Crew, Rex helped investigate what became clear was an imperial genocide, the complete extermination of the Geonosian species to hide the Empire's secret Death Star project. For a soldier who had always fought to protect civilians, this discovery reinforced his commitment to opposing imperial tyranny. The true test of Phoenix Squadron came when Grand Admiral Thrawn, the Empire's most brilliant military strategist, discovered their hidden base on Atollon. The ensuing battle pitted a small rebel force against overwhelming imperial might. Rex found himself fighting alongside not only his new rebel comrades, but also General Jan Dodonna, a Republic officer he would have served under during the Clone Wars. Drawing on his extensive experience in defensive operations, Rex helped organize the ground forces at Chopper Base. His tactical mind recognized choke points, established effective crossfire positions, and maximized the impact of their limited personnel. Even as Thrawn's methodical assault pushed them back, Rex's battlefield guidance helped the rebels hold out long enough for many to escape. This performance against impossible odds earned him even greater respect among rebel leadership, who recognized the value of having a commander with Rex's background. Amid these military successes, Rex suffered a personal loss that shook him deeply. Ahsoka Tano, his closest link to his past and one of his most trusted friends, disappeared during a mission to Malachor. She had gone with Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger to investigate a Sith temple and encountered Darth Vader himself. When Kanan and Ezra returned without her, Rex immediately understood the implications. The sight of the veteran clone captain bowing his head in silent grief spoke volumes about their bond. For Rex, losing Ahsoka meant losing the one person who had been with him through his most transformative experiences, from the Clone Wars through Order 66 and beyond. Though devastated by this apparent loss, Rex continued his service to the rebellion. His resilience, forged through countless battles and personal losses, allowed him to channel his grief into renewed determination. If Ahsoka had fallen fighting the Empire, then the best way to honor her memory was to ensure that sacrifice wasn't in vain. This determination was clearly visible during the liberation of Lothal, one of the most ambitious rebel operations of the period. Rex joined the mission to free the planet from Imperial occupation, fighting alongside the Ghost Crew and local resistance forces. The battle represented everything Rex had come to stand for: protecting civilians, resisting tyranny, and restoring freedom to those under Imperial control. During this intense campaign, Rex fought side by side with his old friend Gregor. The former clone commando had grown increasingly erratic over the years, but his combat skills remained sharp. In a moment that brought Rex's journey full circle, Gregor was fatally wounded while protecting their position. Rex held his brother as he died, another painful reminder of the cost of war. Yet this time was different from the losses of the Clone Wars. Gregor died not as a programmed soldier following orders, but as a free man who had chosen his own cause. This distinction made his sacrifice meaningful in a way that the engineered loyalty of the clone army had never been. Following the successful liberation of Lothal, the rebellion recognized Rex's contributions and leadership by officially promoting him to commander. This new rank acknowledged his growth from a Republic captain created to follow orders into a rebel leader who had earned his position through merit and choice. For someone who had begun life as a manufactured soldier with a designation instead of a name, this recognition of his individual worth and capabilities represented the completion of a long journey towards self-determination. As the rebellion grew into the alliance to restore the Republic, Commander Rex became involved in increasingly significant operations against the Empire. His experience made him an ideal candidate for the most critical missions, including what would become the final battle against Imperial forces. When the Alliance discovered the existence of a second Death Star under construction near the forest moon of Endor, they planned a daring two-pronged attack. A space assault would target the superweapon itself, while a ground team would disable the shield generator protecting it. For this crucial ground mission, General Han Solo personally selected Rex to join his strike team, recognizing the value of including a veteran with unparalleled combat experience. On Endor, Rex encountered beings that connected him to his past in unexpected ways. The astromech droid R2-D2, who had served alongside him during the Clone Wars, recognized the clone commander immediately. Their reunion amid the high-stakes mission created a poignant link between the Republic that Rex had been created to serve and the new freedom he now fought to establish. The Battle of Endor culminated in the destruction of the second Death Star, the death of Emperor Palpatine, and the beginning of the Empire's collapse. Rex, who had been created as part of Palpatine's grand plan to destroy the Republic from within, survived to witness the Sith Lord's defeat. In a cosmic irony that wouldn't have been lost on him, the clone designed to help establish Palpatine's power had persisted long enough to see that power overthrown. What Rex couldn't have known was that the battle also saw the redemption of his former Jedi general, Anakin Skywalker. The man Rex had served under, respected and considered a friend, had fallen to the dark side and become Darth Vader. In his final acts, Skywalker returned to the light, sacrificing himself to save his son and destroy the Emperor. Though Rex likely never learned these details, there's a symmetry to their parallel journeys, both men ultimately breaking free from the control Palpatine had exerted over them. Rex's extraordinary life story, from his creation on Kamino to his participation in the rebellion's ultimate victory, became legendary in the years that followed. His journey represented the larger narrative of the galaxy's fight for freedom, a testament to the idea that even those created for a predetermined purpose could chart their own course. So significant was his story that it earned mention in the Journal of the Wills, the ancient chronicle that recorded the most important events and individuals in galactic history. What made Rex's tale so compelling wasn't just his longevity or his presence at key historical moments. It was his evolution from a genetically engineered soldier with a numerical designation to a man who defined himself through his own choices. He had been designed to be replaceable, one unit among millions. Yet through his courage, loyalty, and integrity, CT-7567 became Captain Rex and ultimately Commander Rex, a unique individual whose impact on the galaxy extended far beyond anything his creators could have imagined.